Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Greetings to all of you. Today we are talking about the Bible and the Bantu people. For our today's topic, we are going to look over Bantu culture, in particular that of the Shona people from the modern day Zimbabwe, thereby comparing their cultural practices with those found in the Bible, in particular in the Old Testament. First European imperialists to arrive in Africa have claimed or appointed the Bantu culture, in particular that of the Shona people from Zimbabwe, as the most controversial culture in the world. Cecil John Rhodes, the British imperialist, after he had set foot in the Great Zimbabwe ruins, he declared that this place was sacred and it is different from the rest of Africa. Thereby he even took artifacts from the palace which he kept with himself wherever he was. He even chose where he was supposed to be buried way before his death. This is so because he believed the place was sacred and it could help him in the afterlife. And he said he was told so by the locals he had found in the Zimbabwean ruins. From this period, imperialists chose not to take further studies on the Shona culture, as well as claiming that everything found in these lands had nothing to do with the local people. Everything was of foreign origin. This was followed by allowing only scholars and historians who were there to support this perspective that the Shona people knew nothing and didn't possess ability to construct such beautiful monuments. From there, they have sabotaged the Bantu culture. Until this day, Bantu culture remains the only culture with less studies taken, in particular that of the Shona people. As a child, whilst in primary school, one of the subjects I was doing was religious and moral education. Whilst listening to stories of the Ancient Testament, I started asking myself plenty of questions. I used to have strange feelings like, are these stories talking about my people? Questions like, if my people have just begun to learn about stories of this religion, then why is it they already have similar practices and traditions for millenniums? How did they know about it if they were not part of it in those ancient times? Okay, then back to our topic. Before going any further, let's start by talking about the number 12. 12 is a number of government. The number 12 can be traced way back from the time of Jacob, with his 12 sons, who later became the famous 12 tribes. Coming forward, we can see that the number 12 was also used by Jesus or Yeshua with his 12 disciples. Now back to the Bantus. There have been 12 kingdoms which represented the government of the Bantu people as children of one nation. These kingdoms have been there for thousands of years before the arrival of whites. As time moved on, these kingdoms had different successors and some had even changed their names, but they were always there for the same purpose, and moreover, they were reigned by kings of the same bloodline. Here is the setup of the kingdoms before colonization of Africa. At first, we have the Buganda kingdom, we have the Burundi kingdom, the Bunyoro kingdom, the Congo kingdom, the Lunda kingdom, the Luba kingdom, we have the Ngola Matamba kingdom, the Bamileke kingdom, the kingdom of Kuba, the kingdom of Makoko, the kingdom of Voango, and lastly, which is number 12, the kingdom of Mwene Mutapa or Munu Mutapa, some even call it Mono Mutapa, which was found in the present day Zimbabwe. Let us take note of the last kingdom, the kingdom of Mwene Mutapa. Why I say let's take note of this kingdom? Because it is believed and suggested by many that right here in this area of Southern Africa in the present day Zimbabwe, it is the place where everything have started, the beginning of everything before all the civilization expanded up to the north. You can also see it here as illustrated by the Vegas world map from the 1400s, where he pointed out that here it is where everything have started. Taking another look again on the Mwene Mutapa kingdom, which was founded and ruled by Mutapa Gatsirusere, the number 8. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing here are actual or direct paintings of Mutapa Gatsirusere, the king himself, which were done by Nicholas de la Messine I in the year of 1680. The following are images of King Solomon. And lastly is a picture of King Haile Selassie on his coronation day. Taking a closer look on these three images, one can clearly notice how these images are very similar to each other, in particular the crowns and the king's sticks. Let's take a look on the marriage practices of the Bantu people and compare them with those found in the Old Testament. Here is Genesis 29, verse 20. It says, "So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel." Here, the serving of Jacob means Jacob didn't have cattle to marry Laban's daughter. So it was decided that he serve as a shepherd and thereby indirectly paying for the marriage token of appreciation. He did this also for another 7 years. This is a very similar practice done and believed by Bantu people, where marriage token is called lobola or roora, and cattle plays an important role in the marriage practices. Let's move forward to Genesis 29, verse 26. Laban said to Jacob, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one." And also this affirmation of Laban is another similar practices to that of Bantu people, where older sons and daughters are the one expected to marry before the younger ones. Okay, then let's move forward and look on Deuteronomy 25, verse 5. Moses said, "If two brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. A husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her." This law here, spoken by Moses, Shona people call it kugaranaka, thus taking inheritance. It applies for both males and females. Thus, if a man's wife dies, he can go on and marry his wife's younger sisters or his wife's nieces, who are daughters of his wife's brother. Also, if a man's wife is barren, instead of the man to go and marry a woman from a different family, he thereby go and marry his wife's younger sister or his wife's nieces, that those who are daughters of his wife's brothers. All this is done in the name of avoiding bringing shame to the concerned family, even to the barren woman. Now we are on Exodus 3, verse 5. God said to Moses, "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Taking off sandals when entering a sacred place or a holy ground is another Bantu tradition which is practiced whenever they are doing traditional ceremonies or when they found themselves in a place which to them is sacred. Looking again on Moses, you can see he used to have a stick with him, a stick which God instructed Moses to use in performing miracles which will convince the children of Israel or the king Pharaoh that Moses has been sent by God. This stick is known as a chimbo in the Shona culture, and it is extracted from a tree called mugodo. It is also always associated with the one who is on the throne. It is associated with the traditional healers, and it is believed and said that inside this stick, it is where all the power is concentrated or contained, and this stick also is a symbol of power. Let's also look on the Sabbath day, a day where no work is supposed to be done. Shona people and other Bantu people, they do have the same tradition. In the Shona culture, this day is called Chisi. And also, just as in the Old Testament, no work is supposed to be done, and it is believed that it is a sin and it can bring curse if people continue doing work on the Chisi day. And also in the Shona tradition, it can result in the punishment of that particular person from the king or the headman if he has been seen doing work on the day of Sabbath in the Shona tradition. Our last stop is the Tower of Babel. Here is a multitude of people speaking one language, and they agreed to build a tower together. But God found it just to stop them by changing their languages, where at last they couldn't understand each other. As far as languages are concerned, Bantu languages are the most unique and different group of languages from the rest. We are talking about thousands of languages with thousands of dialects, but all connected and linked to each other. In Bantu languages, only the sounds and the pronunciation makes the language to look different or difficult for the speakers to understand one another, but whilst they are speaking the same thing. In conclusion to our today's topic, when looking on the children of Israel in general, if you are to compare the world setup as for today, Bantus remains the group of the people which fits in that criteria. Their languages clearly shows to be branches and leaves of the same tree. Ladies and gentlemen, it's goodbye for now. Thank you for your time. Please kindly share with others and let me know what you think about this topic through the comment section. Be blessed and protected as always. Let's meet in the next chapter. Goodbye. One love as always.